The 2019-20 season was one like no other. In the case of Toulouse, their relegation to Ligue 2 was impacted as much by a global pandemic and high court legal battles as their dreadful performances on the pitch. In the capital of the Occitanie region, football typically plays second fiddle to rugby. Despite being France's fourth largest city, with a population of 1.4 million residents, the Stadium Municipal de Toulouse was renowned for some of the lowest average attendances in Ligue 1. Fans of Les Violets rarely set their sights too high, and by October 2019, it was already patently clear that they'd be fighting relegation yet again. In an attempt to arrest the slide, manager Alain Casanova was swiftly replaced by Antoine Kombouaré. Things were looking good when the former PSG manager led Toulouse to victory against Lille in his first game in charge. However, a brutal run of successive defeats followed. With the team lodged in the relegation zone at the turn of the year, Kombouaré was relieved of his duties, handing the reins over to Denis Zanko. By March, Toulouse were rooted to the bottom of the table, having accumulated just 1 point in their last 18 games. However, with memories still fresh from their heroic survival 3 years prior, Les Violets were hopeful of another springtime bloom. Enter COVID-19. For a time, it seemed like the end of the world as we knew it. And whilst other European leagues put their fixtures on hold, the top brass at the French government blew their load early, cancelling all professional sports until September. Despite a potential 30 points to play for over the last 10 games, the season was abandoned, standings were confirmed, and Toulouse were dumped into Ligue 2. Alongside Amiens, the freshly relegated sides took their legal challenge to the French Supreme Administrative Court, Conseil d'État, who eventually sided with the two league strugglers. Relegation was suspended, and the French League was ordered to review Ligue 1's format for the upcoming season. C'est bon, non? Their stay of execution was unfortunately short-lived, when an agreement between the League and the French Football Federation stated that until 2024, at the earliest, the top flight would consist of a single group of at least 18 clubs, and no more than 20 clubs. Toulouse were relegated to the second tier with just 13 points on the board, and a strong sense of injustice that would eventually fuel their top flight return just 2 years later. Staying in southern France, let's now take a trip down the road to Montpellier and check out their calamitous relegation in the 2024-25 season. After 16 consecutive seasons in Ligue 1, the 2012 title winners slid into France's second tier with a mere whimper, writing their names into French footballing folklore again, but this time for all the wrong reasons. But how did we get here? Well, before a ball had even been kicked for their 50th anniversary season, Montpellier were in big trouble. As a family-run club, the Pailladins have never been as financially flush as some of the division's heavyweights. But over a number of years, continually declining off-pitch spend had served as a symbol of their dwindling on-pitch ambitions, more recently prioritising survival over success. With a lack of reserves and one of the tightest budgets in the league, their money issues got a whole lot worse when French football's most recent botched broadcasting deal left a hole in their expected budget to the tune of 20 million euros. President Laurent Nicolon, son of legendary founding president Loulou, knew he'd have to shift their saleable assets to refresh the squad, even remarking the Jordanian Messi could be Montpellier's saviour. He was not. Moussa Al-Tamari stayed put alongside others who could have raised some much-needed funds for the club. Holding on to their star players should have been a shot in the arm for the team's on-pitch prospects. But by September, Montpellier were falling apart nearly as quickly as the almost derelict roof of the Stade de la Mousson. Manager Michel Derzakarian held on for a while, but after a 5-0 battering at home to Marseille sent them rock bottom of the league, he got the chop. Boyhood Montpellier fan and club legend Jean-Louis Gasset was then tasked with reviving the former title winners. At 70 years old, many thought Gasset was too old for the job. Haters are gonna hate, but they were right. Much of his fighting spirit had clearly depleted, frequently whipping out inspiring lines like, "Maybe I'm a football has-been." Rooted to the bottom of the table, December presented a moment emblematic of the club's rapid demise. Suffering a catastrophic loss to fourth-tier side de Le Puy in the Coupe de France, the beating heart of the team, academy graduate and club captain Teji Savanier, was caught on camera during an embarrassing altercation with a fan. Last in Ligue 1, does that hurt? Teased the Le Puy fan. When you're being paid €210,000 a month, no. The humble local hero instantly transformed into Montpellier's mercenary. The club stripped him of the captaincy. The fans stripped him of his halo. Montpellier were in free fall. despite a couple of wins that momentarily lifted them to the heady heights of 17th. Dreams of survival were short-lived when Montpellier then sold off their entire starting attack, reminiscent of a closing down sale. Devoid of confidence, attacking prowess, and any sort of belief, the club went on a rancid run, losing game after game until the simmering fan anger boiled over in March. Trailing 2-0 at home to Saint-Étienne, the Ultras launched flares towards the pitch in protest. However, part of their decrepit stadium caught ablaze. The fire roared, smoke billowed through the Mosson, and part of the Ultras' stand, like their season, turned into a smouldering wreckage. An exhausted Gasset stepped aside in April. "It's over," he said one final time, and nobody could argue. In his place stepped in former assistant to Blanc, Emery and Tuchel at PSG, Zoumana Kamara, to oversee the final throngs of their disastrous season, which included another Marseille mauling. The final tally? 16 points, 4 wins, 4 draws, 26 defeats, 79 goals conceded, an 11-game losing streak that felt eternal, just 1 clean sheet, and for a club that won Ligue barely over a decade ago, perhaps the cruelest fate of all, Montpellier had become irrelevant. Meanwhile, over in Angers, years of mismanagement and financial struggles indicated that sooner or later the club would drop down into Ligue 2, and in the 22-23 season, that's exactly what happened. Following their return to the French top flight in 2015, Angers developed a reputation for grinding out results and fast became a stable force in Ligue 1. However, by the summer of 2022, many key players saw their contracts expire and left for nothing, leaving the squad short of experience and character. Les Scoistes fans fumed at the board for their repeated delays and mishandling of the contract renewals, and a dark cloud engulfed the club before the season had even started. Gerald Batical proved unable to find a formation for his brittle squad, but despite this, the Black and Whites made an okay enough start to the season. However, a 3-0 home loss to Marseille kicked off a run of 7 consecutive defeats. Batical was dismissed during the winter break for the Qatar World Cup, with the club hopeful that new coach Abdel Bouhazama would help the team rediscover their famous grit and determination. This turned out to be a terrible appointment. President Saïd Chaban repeatedly ignored complaints about Bouhazama from when he was head of the academy and reserves, and days after his promotion, his style of management by terror was exposed in a tell-all article by West France. Unsurprisingly, Bouhazama's firebrand approach wasn't suited to lifting a squad bereft of confidence. The team picked up where they left off, losing another 6 games on the bounce. Rooted to the foot of the table, the French-Moroccan got the boot, following a 5-0 battering by Montpellier and the revelation of sexist comments made by the manager in his pre-match presser. Former assistant to Batical, Alexandre Dujeu, was given the undesirable task of overseeing the club's inevitable relegation. Albeit unable to lift the team off the bottom spot, Dujeu curried favour with the fans by blooding in young talents at the back end of the season and ended the club's winless run from September to April with a victory against Lille. Eventually picking up enough points to avoid setting a record-low tally, Angers dropped into France's second tier with more hope than you'd expect from a team relegated with 18 points and 28 losses, confident that Dujeu would be the man to guide them back to Ligue 1 the following season, which thankfully for Les Scoistes, he did. Thanks so much for watching. Please do like, comment and share if you enjoyed this one, and stick around for the next video on the Football Documentary channel.